One of the first things you got me working on was my life course. That was such an immediate thing that can change your life.
What I'm going to do on this episode, hey Stella, with Mihaela. Hi, everybody. This is episode 61. It is going to be a breakdown on the documentary film that the famous actor Jonah Hill is paying tribute to his therapist, Dr. Phil Stutz. That's the name of the film, Stutz, on Netflix documentary. If you have not seen it, you should see it. I couldn't believe the tools that Dr. Phil Stutz is talking about and found the similarities between his therapeutic tools to the acting tools. The way that he is designed and the way that Dr. Stutz, over the years was able to understand what each patient needs was that they want more active solutions. They want more active tools. And they are so in link with some of the tools that we use as actors, some of the tools that I use as an acting coach, with the actors that I work with the directors, with the playwrights. It blew my mind when I watched it. I couldn't believe it. There's not a point where Jonah Hill makes a link between the therapy tools with the acting tools. But I think that was a choice that he made. This is just my opinion. I don't know any of these people, because he wants to keep his acting away from this film, because this film is a beautiful tribute to the therapist that he considers to have changed his life. When asked, why do you think I want to make this movie about you? Jonah Hill says, because I know your tools have helped me, have benefited me a lot. And I'm hoping that by putting them out there in a film, other people will have the same benefit when they will learn how to put them in practice. Theory is not acting. Acting is not done theoretically. You have to get up on your feet and you have to act. Action. That takes us to why I consider that acting tools are even more powerful than therapy tools. Actors have to use all of the five senses. They have to use visualization. They have to use the sense of smell, the sense of taste, the sense of touch, the sense of hearing. Actors go much more deeper into the tools than the ones that are being presented in this film. I put myself in the shoes of the characters when I'm an actress, and when I'm an acting coach, I put myself in the shoes of the person that I'm trying to help, the artist that I'm trying to help. And by allowing myself to relate to that, what they are going through in trying to discover a character, trying to find what's blocking them, trying to find the obstacles that they have as people first before they are characters, I can sense and I can direct them and I can guide them to what I think in the moment each one of those artists needs. That's why I say acting is the closest manual to life. Acting teaches us the most how to navigate our life through our characters. Acting gives us all the tools that we can take, even if we're not actors, even if we are any other profession. They are still very beneficial to everybody, because they give you a guide, they give you a blueprint of how to go about in discovering the character, but at the same time, because the actors are the only instruments that they have, not outside of themselves, the whole work is going to be on that instrument: physical, emotional, psychological, social. Therefore, that's why it can change the world if people would be more aware of how important these acting tools are. He's already saying that when working with his patients as a therapy. He says, if you come into my office and if you do what I tell you to do what the fuck I'm telling you to do, and I guarantee you that it will help you. And he talks about the tools being very active. What other craft, what other thing, what other profession in this world has more to do with action than acting? Crazy, right? Find something in that person that you are going to find that's beautiful. That is called substitution. Substitution for an actor is when they have to endow the other actor with a personal someone or even an object from your life that's going to make you smile like it's making me smile right now. again, going back to the senses, I visualized a peach, a beautiful, juicy peach. And then I could smell the peach. I could taste the juiciness. And I saw him as that peach that I wanted to go and bite into. So therefore, if I would have been asked by the director to go ahead and kiss the actor, whom at the beginning I could not stand, now him becoming the peach for me by doing the sensory work and making that peach real, placing it on his face or imagining it to be his head, I wouldn't have a problem going and biting into it or kissing it. So that's exactly what they're talking about, but they're not going into it in depth to make the connection between that, what they're talking about, to be of help in therapy, to also be of such importance for actors, and to say that actors are using these tools for longer than Dr. Phil ever can imagine that he came up with the tools. These tools go back to before he came up with them. They go back to Stanislavski. They go back to Strasberg. They're still being done at the actor studio. He talks about going back to the place that he remembers he was at when his parents came home from the hospital and realized and told him that his brother had died. So he goes back to the same place. For people to say, I'm going to stay away from that memory, I'm going to stay away from those personal moments that are so difficult, why would I put myself through that pain? Because if you don't put yourself through that pain, if you don't return physically in the real location like Dr. Phil Stutz does, you return to it on a stage by creating the space where you last, in my case, where I last saw my grandmother, which I remember was on the bench. And I remember sitting on the bench and I was surrounded by flowers. So if I close my eyes when I'm on stage, even though I'm sitting on a stage at the actor studio, or if I'm on a set, if I close my eyes for a second and then I open my eyes and I visualize the location of the set to be that of the garden, I can have the smell of the flowers, these beautiful flowers. I don't know what they're called in English, bougeoirs of all different colors. That smell is with me all the time. And then another thing that comes to me, which that's what we do with images they were talking about, that moment is also not just the moment that I'm focusing on, because by allowing myself to feel free into creating that moment, another moment when I use the sense of smell comes to me, imagining her washing her hair. I imagine her washing her hair. And during that time in Romania, there were no conditioning shampoos. So she used to mix a little bit of warm water with vinegar in order to brush her hair so it wouldn't be tangled. So when I close my eyes for a second and then I look at her who's in the garden and now she's washing her hair with the vinegar and the lukewarm water, that gives me a sense of joy. It doesn't mean that just because I'm doing this exercise, I'm going to feel the same grief and loss that I felt when I heard of her passing. There is a little bit of sadness, but there's also this beautiful feeling of knowing that I'm always with her. She's in my gift box in my heart, and I go to her anytime I need to creatively. And that is such a wonderful thing for actors to be able to do. You know, that's exactly what they're talking about. They're not calling it that. They're calling it partex, and they're not saying moment to moment work as actors because they're not talking about acting. But this is where I make the link between what they're saying and the tools of acting. Like I said, you're sacrificing great acting because you're afraid to be vulnerable, which he wasn't. He said, this is what's happening. I've been kind of lying to you. This is not going the same way that I thought it was going to go. Here's the set. It's not a set. We have a green screen going behind the scenes a little bit in how the movie's being made, speaking out beat by beat by beat. That's what this string of pearls is in acting terms to me. All of these are acting tools in so many ways. Beat by beat that I was talking about, the fact there's always an obstacle that you have to overcome, and the bigger the obstacle, if you look at it with the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the opportunity is, then you can move on and you can move on. It depends on how you allow yourself to have these tools work for you, but you have to work them. You cannot just say, well, this is the tool that I should be using, but I'm not going to use it. You have to put it in practice and you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it on your feet, concrete, in the movement, in the action of doing it. That's it for today.